Welcome, beautiful souls, to the Nurture Pod. This is a place where we explore that huge riparian zone between the river of that's just flowing and all of the possibilities that we could make out of the big world that we're in right now.
Hmm.
How are you, my
Pretty
beautiful
interesting.
ginger?
Uh, I'm good. I'm still in Guatemala, so I'm as I speak to you, I'm looking out at the beautiful Lake Atlan. Gorgeous, gorgeous spot. Highly recommend if anybody who's interested in traveling. This part of the Guatemala, it's not the coast. I guess it's a little inland, but it's just gorgeous, and there's vultures everywhere today. I don't know. I'm up on a hill, and so I'm actually looking down at these circling vultures, and there's something must be dead down there 'cause there's like, but they're really big. They're really beautiful. So like they keep swooping by my window, and it's pretty awesome.
So, it is a different species than that lives in the Andes, I'm guessing, or is it?
uh, yeah, I'm guessing so. I don't know. They're really big. Not sure what's going on. I don't know. I don't know what species they are. They have big like they have light spots on their wings. I've been watching them all morning. They're really cool. But I think there's some kind of vulture. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. That's my
Are
ignorance.
so-
I don't know I'm not a birder. I don't know all the birds out here, but there's so many birds here. And often when I'm walking past a tree, I'll hear a bird making a noise. It's like, I mean, it must
Super
be,
cool.
yeah, it must be like a parrot of some kind. You know what I mean? Because it almost sounds like it's talking. It's like making all kinds of crazy noises that you never hear birds make, like sounds like computer noises and like whistles and blips and all the kind of things. So I'm always trying to spot who's in the trees because I know. I mean, I'm in the Guatemalan rainforest. I mean, there's definitely some pretty. The quetzal lives here, which is like their
Oh,
dollar, and that was the one that has a huge long tail, and it lives on this lake. Like you can see them. I haven't seen one yet, but I hear that they're around, which would be so cool because
oh
their tails
yeah.
are like I think almost like 16 inches long or something. They're just
Wow.
beautiful, and so and the Mayans believed it was like part snake, part bird because when it flies, it looks like it's got this like snake
Oh
back
wow.
because its one tail feather is so long, and it's like all rainbow colors. Anyway, it's a little quest of mine before I leave to go. You have to hire like a private boat to go take a hike on this part of the lake that nobody lives on. It's kind of like a just a preserve, and I think they live there. So that's
And
how I'm doing.
there's
Sorry,
no
it's
and
like it was a
also
weird check
no,
in.
no, that's totally cool. And there's I'm just thinking about there are probably I know that there are birds from where we live that winter
Yes.
in Guatemala. So like I feel like I want to look up and at last year I had a
Mm-hmm.
student whose father I'm trying to remember what the name of the site is. If it's not it might be the is it Sierra, the Audubon Society. The a
Mm-hmm.
parent of one of my students in the after school program last year, his job was the bird migration
Oh, cool.
website. And so
Mm.
you can say you can look at a map
Uh,
or you can put in a bird and it will and like the ones that they have like trackers and stuff on and you can watch like you can look at it
mm.
over time. Where is it? Where it's got all these things about bird migration. I think it's Audubon. It's an
It's
Audubon
probably Audubon. Yeah.
Bird tracker. Anyway, you could figure out and see if there's any friends
Well,
from
there's monarch
here.
butterflies here, which has been really cool because I know
Oh,
they migrated here from
yes, from North America.
they're fluttering everywhere here. This is where they hang out in the winter, and that's really magical to see monarchs fluttering around. Just that made me very happy
Oh, wow, that's super
because
cool.
I've seen them at the end of their other side. Which you always hear they go to Mexico, they go to Guatemala. But I don't know. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool to be on the other end of the migration pattern, and you can totally see why they're here. There's so many flowers in bloom. Like it's so pretty here. I totally get why all the butterflies and birds would come down here, and it kind of makes me feel like, yeah, and I'm down here. Like smart move, Ginger. You tuned in to what nature wanted to be like indicating to do, which is to come to some place that's warm and beautiful.
Yeah.
No, Guatemala is fun. It's so relaxed here. It's just the most kickback vibe. I love it. So I've been really getting into hammock. I have a hammock on my new little Airbnb on my porch that overlooks the lake, and I'm just I can't wait to get done with Spanish class so I can come home and like lay in my hammock. So that's my life right
Oh,
now.
it's actually really good because I'm a little at a parasympathetic deficit right now. So
Oh
I
yeah, okay. So
I think
let's talk to you. What's
I
going
think
on?
I think it's really good to like be like, okay, yeah, I gotta tune into that vibe of you in your hammock.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. So what's up? What are you nurturing or not or
What
trying to nurture?
I am surfing
Surfing.
probably a peak stress. I feel like I'm realizing it's like, wow, this has been a real pattern. Like I know that 2025 and 2024, like I made some big changes in my life and trying to like figure out how to negotiate it. And um,
Mhm.
I've had some just like very just some high stress and very triggering to like all of my, stuff that I've worked on for such a long time. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I wasn't done working on that. Here it
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting, it's like, oh, like, and then it's like, so I've been really paying attention and and observing like like the physical ramifications of
Mhm.
having that big like when you get triggered, that's like a form of shock, I think. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Mhm.
and just like anyway, it's
Well,
just
yeah, it's PTSD. I mean, what a trigger is, right? It's
yes.
literally releasing the same chemicals as whatever event your nervous system is attaching that situation to. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
And
and it's
it's totally, like I'm I remember at one point a couple of years ago I had like I kind of was doing a thing at I was at Indigo Fest and kind of somebody said something and I kind of snapped a little bit and then I'm like, "Oh, wait, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, my A score is showing. And there were three people that knew what I was talking about and they just lost their shit. They were like, and like everybody else is like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Let's just move on."
yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
I was
for the
like,
listeners, Iris, you need to explain that.
but like, so like the ACE study was showing is adverse childhood experiences, and they just picked 10 that they tried to pick
Mm,
because the researchers were realizing they're like, wow, there's such a correlation between they like childhood events and health as adult
mhm,
in adulthood. And so it was a code study with long-term study with Kaiser Permanente, which is like great records for like a long time,
yeah.
and the CDC because they could look at family dynamics and whatever, like they had a lot of records for a lot of people, and they realized that like the correlation with higher A scores. So if you had, if your parent, if you had a like whatever, like there's 10 of them. So like was there, violence in the home is one, so like there's all these different ones. And the higher your A score, the more likely, like it's like not just a little bit more likely. I think like people that have 6 of the 10 or above are like almost 700 times more likely to use intravenous drugs, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And notably, because of the population that they were doing, these were not their population were not like lower middle class, or this was primarily, often very solidly middle or upper middle class population that they
Mhm,
were studying, mostly white. So,
mhm.
and so it's like you can just extrapolate like the more like obviously those are not the only 10 factors, right? Like there's
Right,
more than
of
10
course.
ways to
Yeah,
fuck up your life. And so
right. Yeah.
but it's a
Add
good
experience racism from the day you were born. Add
right,
experience,
like
like
that.
all the other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And so I mean, and so it's just been expanded, of realizing it's like, oh, and recognizing that it's not simply having an adverse event. It's like how how do you support someone through that? So like a
Mm,
child losing a parent is a traumatic event, like it's a very intense event. But if they are completely like we've talked about grief a lot, it's like
yeah.
imagine a child losing a parent and being told we're not going to talk about that parent and taking all the pictures away and like, you just
Yeah.
have to stuff it, versus a child in a family that maybe has like the aunties come and like all intact, close knit extended family with like
Mhm.
rituals around grief and like lots,
Yeah.
like that would be a whole different signature on your cells.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, trauma is not what happened. Trauma is the response to what happened. That's the
Yeah,
definition of trauma. It's how, and so when we're triggered, we're actually being triggered into the response of the moment,
right.
not the actual event, because people can react very differently to those events. Like again, with this different support systems, with different belief systems, with different skill sets of people around them, whatever, I think Francis Weller has a really good story in his book. The Oh, come on, help me. What's Francis Weller's name of his book? The grief book.
Ah,
You'll think,
the
well, what?
wild, not wild.
Yeah, The Wild Edge of Sorrow. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there's a good story in there about, I think it's about a girl in Africa that he visited that tribe, and the Dagara tribe that was
Hmm.
really versed in grief work. And he met this girl, and she had horrible like burn marks all over her face. Like she was horribly burned because her mother like threw a pot of boiling water in her face when she was a kid, like in
Pretty intense.
in an abusive rage, basically,
Yeah.
like disfigured her own child. So that's pretty intense. That's like a pretty intense trauma. I mean, if anybody, like having your mother do that to you at a young age. And he was like kind of surprised at how incredibly like just super chill and happy and like upbeat this girl was. And he asked somebody about in the village about it, and they said, oh yeah, that did happen, but we immediately went to her as that child. We stepped in as a village and was like, this is not your fault. It's not about you. They sang her songs. They did all the rituals to let her know that this was something that happened, but it had nothing to do with how much she was loved, or that, worthy, or any of the other, like they made sure that she was like loved really strongly through the whole process. And we're just extremely skilled as a community to like deal with that. And she didn't have the trauma response. Like she had a different response to
Yes.
something that was
Yes.
still very disfiguring. I mean, it's hard to imagine something that we, that bad that you couldn't have a inherent trauma response to. But I think if it can be different, depending on how people around you support you and love you, and tell you the story about it. It's really a lot about like what story do you
I
bring up around it.
and I do, it's like I feel like I have, I mean, obviously anytime we talk about any of this shit, like the whole cancering thing comes up in my head. But like I do
Yeah.
legit feel like that experience, which for many people is like the most traumatic thing that happened in their life, like that was a very luminous year
Mm,
for me. Like I
mm,
felt, um, we were just like so much love.
mm,
And it was like, and I had the space to just really focus on healing, and I had the space to just really focus on reframing, and I got to
mm,
write a lot, and like, like all like it was not, I mean, clearly like, like physically it was pretty intense, like treatments suck, but
yeah.
from I don't have um yeah, yeah. It's just interesting. It's so interesting because then you think about like you have a friend breakup, and it's like the trauma from that is actually was like much more, like much more triggering, much more like hardcore, much more,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow, that's really interesting.
But probably because it's eliciting like something from your past. I mean,
oh
that's
yeah, yeah,
probably why,
from
Yeah.
the like
Yeah. The
the somebody referred to childhood as 18 years of hypnotic suggestion. that that
Interesting.
then that then like like gets activated throughout the rest of your life, right? And
I mean, this is like the whole, people are like self-improvement, self-improvement, but like really it's self-awareness for me. It's like just to be aware. You don't even need to improve it essentially. But once you're aware of your own stuff, your own package that you came with, from
yes, yes, yeah.
whatever situation it was, good, bad, in between, whatever, you can, create your own story about it. But like, yeah, once you know your stuff, then it's much easier to navigate, these tricky spots that you find yourself triggered in, because you're like, oh yeah, I know what that, like today, I, for some weird reason, like I have this beautiful Sunday with nothing to do. I rolled out of bed like late for me, which is like 8:30, and I was like, oh yeah,
Wow.
looking at the lake. I had bought groceries, so I'm like, I have all the things I need to make myself breakfast and my little. I mean, I'm stoked, right? I'm like set up here in my little casa, and And then I sit down to journal, and I'm like, nothing's coming really. So I just pick up my phone like you do, thinking I'm going to look up like what's going on tonight in town, or you know what I mean. And for somewhere, of course, I get onto Instagram because I was like, just scroll, and then you just fall into this like, oh well, I've got all the time in the world, I might as well just indulge a scroll. And then something came up about Brigham, my ex husband, and I was like, I haven't thought about him or looked up anything, and I did. I went to his Instagram and looked on it, and I was like looking at what he's doing, and I was like, yeah, it wasn't a good idea, because it brought up all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh, then I'm back into this whole other place in my life like 3 years ago, and but then I realized later, and then I started journaling about that, like, oh, because it triggered, right? It totally triggered.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why did I do that? And I realized I think it's today, November 16th, might have been the actual day he left. Like I was like trying to clock that in my mind. I was like, oh, I
Oh,
think
oh,
because
interesting.
his birthday's on the 19th, and I think he left a few days before his birthday. And I was like, I remember being pissed about that, being like, oh, this is a birthday present to yourself. Like you're leaving your wife. Like, oh, that's great. Thanks. I was very, very insulted by the timing of it all. But but I never forgot it either. And I was like, oh yeah. So I think maybe like my body remembered.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
didn't even like it took me a minute to even clock that at all. But like my body, I think, remembered that I had a big trauma either on this day or very close to this day,
Yes.
3 years ago, which is a long time now, but like, and it just brought it up. Like, and maybe I just needed to go back in and like clean it up a little bit, like, write about it, look at it. Because honestly, when I looked at the pictures, and I was like, yeah, I mean, there wasn't, like it brought up memories, but it wasn't like a supercharged event. And then I went into this whole like kind of grief, or maybe compassion for who I was 3 years ago, because oh man, was that a day? You know what I mean? Like maybe one
Yes,
of the hardest
yes,
days in
yes.
my life. To have your partner walk out, and it's like I just remember I told him, I was like, I'm gonna go on a hike, and when I get back from the hike, you need to be gone, because I don't want to have the image of you driving away like seared into my you know brain,
Yes.
smartly for myself, managing my own, like visual images and everything like that. Because when I think about that day to day, I remember being on a hike with my dog and like coming home and he was gone. But I
Which
don't
would
have,
be very different because like if you'd had what then like
yeah,
every time you were in the driveway you would have been
exactly,
that would have been
exactly.
yeah.
And so it's interesting. Like I kind of went back in my mind and was like, oh, so much compassion for her, what she was going through, that version of me. And it's so weird to be in Guatemala, like, sitting around in my tank top and underwear, like in a hammock, looking at this stuff, being like bummed out again. And then I look up and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing fine. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm actually doing really well. Like, right now, this version of me is doing great. But like, just I don't know. Like I said, it was an interesting like
Well,
reconciling of what the body holds, even before the
yes,
mind
yes.
understood why I went to do that. Yeah.
And it's super I do feel like the whole somatics of having a stressful interaction and stressful, having being kind of knocked out of
Mm,
equilibrium
yep.
and kind of, and like kind of like getting myself kind of re-regulated, but not like deeply rooted, right?
Mhm.
Like functioning is different than totally, into that
Mhm.
really like really sunk down and fully seated
Mhm.
in a grounded way.
Yep.
And so like I've been kind of surfing and it's kind of had a little crescendo this week and then realizing and observing in my body like I was like my teeth were chattering yesterday morning when I woke up
Mm.
and like and like I'm kind of quivery and it's like oh that's like my liver has to get rid of all that cortisol, like my kidneys need
Mm.
to like filter all that stuff, like if you have like you know a heightened event
Yeah.
it's and so like maybe it's processing not I think you're right, like it's not processing just this moment. Of course, it's also processing It's like the tide that tides back in from
Yeah,
from
very
like
very similar.
little,
Yeah, it's a
very
cycle. It's
little.
like
And if
if we
it's
think
stuck,
about time as like a spiral instead of
hmm
a linear line, which I think is much more accurate. Honestly, I think we're always moving in kind of this. There's always spirals on ancient temples everywhere around the world, no matter where you go. It can be in Mexico, Peru, Ireland, whatever. I mean, all around in the Middle East, and I think that's indicating like that we're not linear beings. We never are. Like everything's things are in orbit. Like we're moving
yes,
in this kind of
yes,
we're our world, our universe, everything is spiraling, and so and expanding. So it's this kind of like it's not just a circle either. It's like it is
yes,
it's
yes,
a moving
yes.
outer orbital spiral. That is what we're doing in the universe, right? Physically, and so time wise, we had this whole time is an illusion talk last time. It makes sense in a way when you find yourself on the spiral 3 years later, but you're in a similar, like you're in a similar part of the spiral, I guess, but you're not the same.
Yes.
You're further out. And I've always been really fascinated by that because now you have perspective. Like I can look back 2 rungs in and see myself on this inner part of the spiral, going through this shock, horrible shock. That's what it was. Like you said,
Yes.
shock is this, and the body when it's in shock has all kinds of very deep somatic like patterning that happens. Like it's like, whoa, what's going on? And it took years to spiral that out and unwind it and write about it and rest and think and then finally sell the property and try. I mean, like this whole thing has been going. And I think for most people, like, I don't know, I mean, ever since 2020, we've all been in this interesting, you know,
It's
spiral.
like I think it's like the like it's using up a lot of bandwidth.
Mm,
Because it's like you think about like we've talked about grief a lot on this podcast, but the US is so the West in general, like just does not it's just like if we pretend it's not there, then it's not happening, which is the
yeah,
opposite of the truth.
exactly. Yep.
Um and so like I just think about like everyone that was working in a essential worker job during
Yeah.
COVID didn't have any pause, has still
Yeah.
not had any pause. And it's
Yeah.
like everybody, like they're people that were working in essential worker jobs, like working at the grocery store, working at the hospital, working in the schools,
Yeah.
working as a police officer, working as a bus driver, like all of those people
Mhm.
were not given, and then there are the people that were like having to like be in place, shelter in place, and
Mhm.
there's trauma. People had trauma about that. Like I was actually score, but right,
Everybody. I
right.
mean, I
Everybody
know. I
needs,
mean,
yeah,
either because I didn't go through like in that moment. I was living on a farm and had a tea company, and we were definitely like working, but I wasn't going through a lockdown in the ways people in New York
other
City.
people, yeah,
Much like
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
rural and open. However, it led to a divorce. I mean, I know it did. Like it was like just not being able to travel, not having that release valve. Not, I mean, it compressed things, and so and then maybe that was the best thing that could have happened. Who knows? I mean, now I think about it, I'm like, my life has changed dramatically, and
Yes.
maybe that's for the best. And maybe that was just a thing that needed to happen. But I mean, so much change, and it's still. I mean, look who's
It's
president. I mean,
still
that
unrolling.
is a direct result of that pandemic. I mean, people freaked out, information got weird, everyone was stuck at home, conspiracy theories went crazy. I mean, and now where we're at, as and we're and I mean, even I don't know. I guess I just use that as an example, but these happen all the time. Like wars happen, like
Yes,
famines
yes.
happen or natural disaster. I mean, they spark these spirals of having to process what just and I don't think it's a here this happens and then you try to get out of it. That's what I meant about self-awareness. It's like understanding that your frequency, understanding your spiral that you're in, and it's going to take a while, and all you have to do is just be progressing on the path, like all it's needed. It's never going to be over. There's never a time when it's like, oh, that never happened and now I'm free
Right,
of that.
right, right,
No,
right.
it changed your trajectory
I
fundamentally.
feel like it's like there's these nodes. It's like the lymphatic system. It's like the lymphatic system. Our,
Mm,
this the lymphatic system is like traveling, and it has these like nodes where the lymph nodes are, and like we're flowing through our life, and then
mm,
it's yeah, yeah, sorry. Like I think I lost it, but just it.
No, it's cool. I mean, the lymphatic system's interesting specifically because it doesn't have a pump.
Hmm.
Like the blood, the circulatory system has a pump, right? The heart, the lymphatic system, like it takes us to move. Like we have to move our
Yes, you
bodies
have to move.
to like move lymph, and lymph is like this really powerful fluid that does all kinds of cleansing and healing in our bodies, but we have to move it. And so I think it's a really appropriate system to talk about because you have to keep moving, like you have to keep going.
You have to
I
keep
mean, like
breathing,
you have to
literally
keep
breathing.
breathing and
You have to
stretching
keep
and
moving.
moving and like doing. I mean, you have to actually move through your life to like get this, the lymphatic system to work of your whole life. I mean, it has to. And if you get
Yep.
stuck, I think if you freeze like in place and you're like,
Yes.
which is okay for a time, by the way, but like eventually you're gonna have to move, like and keep going and try to shed that old skin and grow a new one, and like that's our bodies just are designed for that.
I was
So,
talking you go I was talking to my friend Teresa yesterday, and she had this brilliant thing talking about like the just I wish I could I was like I should write this down because it's so brilliant. Just like the it has to come from somewhere. Like if you do an extra stretch for something in your life, like a little
Mhm.
overextended, it comes out of someplace else. And like when you're, especially at, like part of the thing of getting older is realizing it's like you could just talk, I could just talk myself in to keep pushing, pushing. We've talked about this a lot, right?
Mhm.
But it's like, oh, like I like my rubber band is kind of old and not quite as stretchy anymore. Like I can't go out of bounds and just go
Mhm.
right back in. It's like I need to like,
Mhm.
and so it's like recognizing and recalibrating to what is, accepting
Yes.
what is, and like just like you're saying, it's like it's if you are thinking that if you've got this idea about what you should be able to do, really that's a form of stagnant thinking that you think you can just keep growing, growing, growing is like a very constricted
Yeah.
idea versus realizing it's like, oh, how much recovery time does that require?
Yeah.
How much prep
Again,
time?
like spiral, right? You go out, but
Yes.
you have to go all the way back. If you ever walk a labyrinth, it
Oh, I
feels like you're
love them.
walking it and then you walk out and then all of a sudden you have to go all the way back to the center again. It's just the way they're designed, like it makes you really think about the path you're walking in life. Like, yeah, you are going to go somewhere, but you're going to go back. And all of a sudden it seems like you're back in the middle and now I'm back on the edge. I'm like, why? There's nothing linear about it. And that's like the meditation of it all, is that to realize like, that's how life is. You're going to see it from different perspectives. You just keep moving because you never know. All of a sudden, you just exit. The exit, there it is. Or all of a sudden, you hit the center and you're like, oh, here I am in the middle. But it's hard to, when you're in the labyrinth, see how that's going to work, right? And
Yes.
they're a form of spiral. They're a form of, and I just think I've always thought that was so magical about them, because even though I've walked them many, many times, I always find it magical that you're like, oh, like a little surprise. Like
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes. I
back out
love
on the
labyrinths.
outer ring, and I feel like emotionally that's what we do with ourselves, like, oh, I'm back. Like today, like both of us just had that moment of like processing something that happened a while ago, maybe last week, or maybe in our childhood, or maybe like 3 years ago for me, or like whatever. And just being like, but I'm not in the same place anymore. I'm not the same being that I was then. I'm in a
Right.
different coordinate. So I can look at it differently now, even though I feel it, you know?
You know what? I think so. This makes me think about some years ago, I was obsessing about this idea about these portals that we like these those places where you walk through and like you were saying earlier, like you are utterly changed.
Yep.
Like on the other side of this, there is a now and then there was then and then there is now. Like people have
Yeah.
multiple portals you walk through your life. And sometimes when you get to the other side, just like in a near-death experience, when you get to the other side of that, there are other people that have also walked through that portal. And it's like you don't even have to talk.
That's right.
They get it. Like, it's
Yep.
like I think about like parenting is a portal, right? And you're walking around with the little baby
100%.
and you make eye contact with some person on the bus and they're just like the nod. Like they're with you with that squirming, sad baby on the bus. Like it's just
Yes.
like, oh, I am with you. Like no words are exchanged. And it's just you
Right.
realize, okay, oh, I'm not alone on this side of the portal,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like grief, like when you've had death and like of someone close to you, and then other people,
Mm,
like once you have this, like, oh, you too. Like if either it's somebody else other
yeah.
also influenced or impacted by the same loss, or someone that that's also had a similar loss, like
Yeah.
you've got this like solidarity on the other side. But many times we go through portals and we don't have any clear way of knowing who
That's
is
because
also.
yeah, because the culture that we're in only celebrates certain thresholds. Like
Yes, yes. Oh,
um
threshold, what a good word.
yeah, like marriage is a threshold, right? Having a children is a threshold. Getting a new job is what you know what I mean. College graduate, whatever. There are thresholds that are celebrated for sure and acknowledged. Birthdays, anniversaries, like, um, but
And
there
is
are a whole other series of things that happen to us in our lives that have no ritual connection, celebration, acknowledgement, and have a lot of shame attached to them. So then
makes
you
it
have
so much more, it's so much harder.
it's so much
So
harder to
much harder.
navigate them because you don't know. It feels like failure, right? It doesn't feel like a threshold anymore. It feels like, oh, I've fallen off the linear staircase that's supposed to just be going up, 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 forever. And it's like, and I got sick, or I got divorced, or I lost my job, or whatever, something horrible. I mean, things happen all the time, or maybe not even that. Maybe you just chose to do something, like maybe you just chose to do something in your life that's just not celebrated. I mean, like maybe you
Yeah.
chose to take, whatever, a year off and go write a book, and like, where's this? I mean, there's no like major celebration. We just don't have the rituals, right? I mean, anything that doesn't fall into that kind of, I don't know, almost Hallmark card category.
Yeah, if there's
uh,
not a card for it, then it's
yeah,
kind of like it just doesn't and that it's like neglected. It's like spiritually neglected.
and that's why the shame comes in, because you feel like you're the only one, right? Like I've done this thing. I mean, I can speak this to my personal experience. Like I have, I just dropped out and like left the country, and like, I don't know, at 50, whatever, it doesn't, I mean, there's really no celebration around that. It's just kind of like, oh, that's weird. Like, and I had to go through this whole, write my process in my own mind of like, no, I'm going to celebrate myself for doing it because I feel like my soul wanted to do it. But I do feel like, just like I talked about the girl who got the
And
water
we
thrown in
did
her
have a
face,
ritual
like,
for you. We did have a ritual for you.
oh, we did. Yes, you did. My friends did. I take it back. There was a ritual for me, actually. It was very beautiful. Um, but that also, it's because I live. I mean, I hang out with very magical, awesome people. Not everybody has that ability
Right,
to
right, 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 right. Yeah.
coalesce a ritual around things. Yeah, no, I didn't speak from my own experience in the sense that I never had a ritual. I just thought, like, as an example of
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah, yeah,
weird that
yeah.
somebody could do. Um, Darn it, Iris! Now I lost my train of thought.
Oh,
Hmm. Anyway,
that
I was gonna say, I think something about how the because we've kind of created a bubble of what's celebrated and everything else is like outside of that bubble, it definitely takes away or detracts or makes you feel more like part of the human experience isn't to be celebrated. Like, and if it's not to be celebrated, then what's left? It kind of
right.
like correlates with like, well, if we're not celebrating it, probably is because there's nothing to celebrate there. It's like you messed up, you know what I mean? You should get back on the treadmill or whatever, get on the staircase and keep climbing. But there are so many different ways to live and so many different things to celebrate, and everybody's personal paths, like of what they choose for themselves, as long as it's authentic, right? I mean, we should be celebrating whatever anybody wants to celebrate, including like bad things, like that. The Not celebrate would be the word, but honoring, ritualizing, acknowledging, holding space for, yeah, like the girl who got the water thrown in her face. Like, that's the community coming together, not to look away and be, or even to tell her that, you know, it's going to be okay or whatever. It was more just like, hey, like,
Well,
is it about you? This isn't you. Like, you didn't, like, you are okay. Like, this isn't about you. Like, in terms of like, you deserve this or you do something wrong. I mean, and that's a skill set that we've lost. I was just, I mean, really, it's just not there anymore. We could recreate it, but I think it has to come from us telling ourselves different stories about what we're doing in our lives.
And to witness. I mean, I think that the skill of witnessing is a that's like a that's really hard. Like we want to immediately jump to just to just be fully present, right? Like
Yeah,
with someone when they've had something big is it that's like big work.
it's
That's
big work. And like you were saying earlier, not the skill sets aren't there. Like we've lost the ability to communicate with to have these like deeper levels of communication and listening and holding, yeah, holding like sacred space, knowing how to hold sacred space that feels honoring to the person, whoever they are, and their belief systems or what they want. It's really interesting to me. I feel like as we move on these spirals in our lives, women in our 50s, I'm just going to go back to my personal experience. There's one whole category of like life that is just not celebrated at all. Like it's just like
yeah, yeah.
anything. This the cultural story is that you better hang on to the younger version of yourself as long as you possibly can, because where you're going is so devalued in the patriarchy that it's like, you know, and yet it's probably one of the most powerful times of our lives because we have wisdom and resources and skill sets that we didn't have in our 20s and 30s. So, I mean, we're very powerful, but we're told that our it's actually the opposite, that we're
It's
losing our
like
power.
gaslighting. Yes, yes, yes.
Because the only power that's being honored is like creation, like be able to have kids or be able to, be sexy or attract. I mean, it's all about what we can do for the patriarchy. And I think, oh my gosh, like watching the news right now a little bit, just it's so horrifying. I mean, like the story is so blatantly gross and like on display for anybody who wants to see how just wrong and messed up and just like um disgusting it is. And yet we have it internalized, you know what I mean? Like it's still, parts of us are still following the script. And I don't know, I'm like kind of fascinated by
It feels oh, you keep going.
um I'll just finish this. Yeah, I'm just fascinated by the lack of like alternative paths, stories, narratives, celebrations, ritual, you know what I mean, that just aren't there. Like we have, and the path that we've always been handed in America is so broken. I mean, so very, very, very broken, and all of its holes and lies and deep dark, alleys that nobody really wanted to ever go down, as like they're right up for they're up for examination right now. Like they're just like in the headlines day after day after day, like how corrupt and how morally corrupt. It's like, oh my god. So it's like if there was ever a need, I guess, we are so positioned right now to step in and to start creating this thing. And it's not going to come from anybody else. I mean, we're going to have to create it ourselves.
And it does feel like that we were talking before we started recording about this tension between different perspectives. I mean, I always go about the Tower of Babel, but I do feel like it's like a very I just see this as a kind of a core part, I think, of part of like of my almost like my mission is like being
Mm,
able to see clearly. And I not that's like not that I'm successfully seeing it clearly, but that's a job I have is to like be actively trying to see it clearly and
yeah,
realizing when I'm in that moment of, oh, I think that we're communicating clearly, but I'm actually talking from such a different perspective than
yeah,
you're not that's we're not actually having the same conversation because of this different perspective. So like,
yeah.
like the I in this kind of intense communication was talking about like power difference and like from the co-op model of like looking at power not as an inherently right or wrong thing, but power as like, oh, there's power width, there's power that you can power hierarchies that you consent to, there's power
Mm,
but power is always there, right? It's like
absolutely.
it's always part of the equation. And how is it how is it flowing? How is it, like how's it feeling and like the whole Starhawk, whatever. So like that's
Hmm.
versus like someone from more of a background of like more traditional background that hasn't been learning about NVC and consensus and making
Hmm.
collaborative decisions and all that. When you say the word power, it's an accusation.
Yes. A
It,
power
it's
over.
it's a
Yeah.
power over accusation, and
Yeah.
and it's like, oh no, this is not that's not what it's like the whole like your intent does not equal impact, which is like I feel like I
No.
need that tattooed, like intent does not equal impact, like, and it's
Yeah.
like the Tower of Babel situation just magnifies that. Like
Mm.
like it can be so easy to like make things worse because
Yes.
you're not talking the same language. And
Totally.
yeah. And so what you were saying about this time is now for those that have been practicing community in these alternative ways or these ancient
Hmm.
ways, these nurture culture ways of how do we take care of each other? How do we hold space for each other? Um, just doing emotional labor as a community, like the time is now because like I think it's within people. They just don't because when you walk into a space of people that are holding space in that way, it feels good.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
for people that have no connection to it. It's like, what is this? Why does this feel so good here? I like it. I
Hmm.
like being here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So even though there is this like how do you negotiate conflict and challenge
Mm.
when you don't have a shared language around how to handle conflict? It's
Yeah.
it's it's a very different, like when you have a shared language about how to negotiate conflict, it's a totally different. It's yeah, I think that I wonder if like how much of human conflict is just that lack of
Oh,
shared
probably like
like
95% of it. And the other
right?
5% is trauma that we haven't dealt with. You know what I mean? Like, take the trauma that we already talked about earlier in the podcast and then add like communication stuff and the way people develop communication skills based on where they were raised and like what, the culture they were in, blah, blah, blah. And then you try to throw all these people together to sort out their traumas, their
Yes.
various styles of communication. And you add in a culture that doesn't even encourage any of that. It's just like
Right.
culture is about me and succeeding. And like it's not a collaborative culture that we were raised in. So when we're speaking of the US, we're, not generalizing to everywhere, but like because we're both raised in the Midwest and this is very similar play, the similar time. I think we could talk about that. Just kind of like, yeah, we went to public, we went to the same kind of systems, and so, and I think it's only getting worse. I don't think it's getting better since the '70s. I think it's gotten worse. Um,
Yeah.
it's gotten definitely more bare bones. Just like the obviousness of like that. Yeah, that it's all about getting me, 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 me. It just feels like it's been intensified by the power structures we're looking at now. I mean, my God, like that's what I mean when I said we've come to a place of this story being so gross and so obscenely actualized in the
Oh,
in
it's
the
it's like
actual politics and media. That's like, I mean, people are personal brands. I mean, they're not even people anymore. I mean, it's just kind of insane. And the idea of community, not kind of insane, it's totally insane.
it
And the
totally.
and the idea of community is like, you know, I don't even know where that is in the media sphere right now, honestly. It's just about talking points and winning point after point, or view after view, or like, or I mean, it's all algorithms, and I mean, it's spiraling in this way that's really interesting to watch if you're just kind of dispassionately sitting back and being like, "Whoa, what a fascinating time to watch humanity." And it's also distressing because you're like, "Yeah, where is this going to take communication and the ability to
Well,
the ability for anyone to learn communication right now with the technologies that are in place, is it's even doubly hard because we're not even speaking to each other on human to human level. We're talking texting and making comments on posts, and do you know what I mean? Like, and people are very polarized because of that. But but I would say within that spiral of craziness, there's also a very golden opportunity that's emerging because those of us who are interested and like can remain kind of like in observer mode, like you would observe your thoughts during meditation, which by the way, I'm 3 days in of doing a 30
Whoop
minute
whoop.
meditation every day. So last time we talked, that was a goal of mine, and I did
Nice.
I did it. I'm feeling really really proud of that. Um, but like it's interesting to meditate even for a few days because you're like, oh, you start to see it, like you can see immediately like the stories and where your brain goes and how much of it is just Babylon bullshit, really. I mean, the brain's just like blah, 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 all the time, and we're not even
Totally.
aware. It's never shuts up. It's just like I think there's like 20,000 thoughts a day that we have, and I think most of them are just complete lies. They're just like the brain just is rolling out just because it's doing its thing. It's trying to keep busy.
It's trying
But
to
when you,
rationalize
it's not even
what
rational. It's
the,
just like it's just rambling, like my brain anyway. I don't know about
yeah.
yours. My brain's not saying anything rational. It's just babbling. Like, what about this? What about this? What about? You're like,
Well,
oh
just
my,
like that whole thing of like we think
ah,
the thoughts lead to the
ah.
feelings, but actually the feelings instigate the thoughts. It starts with the feelings.
No, no, no. It starts with your thoughts for sure. But it's just about being aware of the thoughts. Because a lot of times, like again, that's why meditation is so valuable because when we're having this unconscious babbling going on in our brain, we don't know, like it's totally impacting us. Like a lot of that script is just like stuff. It's just
Old,
garbage.
old.
It's just stuff. So when you realize like how much of it just comes from the internet or how much of it came from like something you read or you I mean, I think that's one of the purposes of beauty of trying to meditate anyway, is just to be aware of like, oh, I'm allowing streams of things to come into my brain, and then my brain's going to hang out with that. I mean, like you have to be really selective about like what would you like to be looking at, like who
Yes,
would you
yeah.
like to be listening to, and that's where like the Instagram scroll is. I mean, it seems very innocuous at some level, but it's just garbage. It's like you're just putting a lot of trash in your brain in a lot of ways. I'm not saying there's no valuable things on there, but you know, I can tell like if I check in after if I let myself scroll for like an hour, which isn't that hard to do. It's like a numbing, distracting
Yeah.
thing. How I feel emotionally after that is never as good as when I, go and sit in meditation for 30 minutes and do yoga, right? So like after I feel like that, I'm like, oh, I'm doing great in my life. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling centered. I feel ready. And then if I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, look at all these other people doing all this stuff. And I'm like, maybe I'm behind or maybe I should be over there. Like I get FOMO really bad. I'm like, oh, maybe I should have picked that place to go to. Or maybe I should, blah, 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 blah. Maybe I should own a rental house to be making money while I do this. Maybe because there's all this stuff, like coming through. And like, that's not coming from my own brain. It's coming from I mean, scrolling's like you're accessing just yeah, it is Babylon. It is the tower. If there's anything
It
that more
is.
represents the Tower of Babylon, it's scrolling on Instagram. It's just literally like blah blah blah, blah and you hit it, and it's like blah, 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 it's just babble after a while. Your brain's not even absorbing it. It's just like
Well, and I think that that brings it back to this thing of two podcasts back, but it really is all energetic and like how are
yes,
you guarding like this this need to be guarding your the integrity of your own energy
frequency.
and so your own frequency so that you can do the work of blessing, really. It's like
Yeah,
and it's like when because I feel like I have this dichotomy in my life right now where I'm doing similar things but in different places and the culture in the different places are really different and it's like wow,
mm,
like it's not the same job at all. It's like a
yeah,
totally different job even though technically on the surface I'm doing the exact same thing. I am
yeah,
doing radically different things because in one location, in addition to the actual job, I have a whole lot of emotional labor that has to happen,
that's right. Yeah,
not just within myself, but also with
yeah,
other humans. And then like, so it's like, wow, like, that's in the invisible, like what is the intangible world and the like material world, like the
mm,
the the And it seems like to me that part of the possibility of this time right now is that the limit we are reaching the limitations of materialism.
Exactly. That story
And
is showing itself to
that
be
yeah,
very like,
we're
yeah,
it's cracking. It's like
yeah,
totally cracking. It's falling apart. We can't, like in the
on
what
the
do you call
ground.
it?
Yeah.
We can't, like when you go and watch a play, you have to suspend your disbelief and you believe the story that's happening.
Yes, exactly. That's a good
It
analogy.
that's we can no longer,
Yeah.
it's like, wait
If
a
you're
minute.
if you're paying attention at all, you can no longer suspend your disbelief about the story that we were sold as a culture, right? Like it's
Yes, yeah. The
because the
con is
ugliest
up.
the con, like, or whatever you want to call it, maybe the fantasy that you could just have, incredible growth, in all directions all the time with never like having to pay any consequences of waste or corruption or what happens, right? So we're all seeing that. We don't need to go into it any deeper. And people who are listening to this podcast are all very aware of what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And however, I think that the interesting point is what you said is like there's these little um like you said nodes, I think, on your path. Like if we're thinking about the
Yes.
spiral, you said these little nodes are like portals or thresholds, and I love that. And I'm going to go back to it just for a minute because when I was this is a cool little town I'm living in. It's called San Marcos, and it's like a lot of old hippies in it, and a lot of young hippies in it. And sometimes, and I realized for myself, I'm like, I love that. Like, I love that there's, Sanskrit chanting on Tuesday that you can go to, like, on the upstairs of a restaurant roof and just be like, people are playing guitars and singing Vedic chants from like 1,000 years ago. And I'm like, that's cool. But one of them, so I went, of course, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting there chanting and having a good old time. And then he started to explain like what the chants mean. And it was really powerful to all of a sudden realize like these are chants that are thousands of years old and they're just like begging us all to like recognize that we could wake up, like we can have these node portal points, you know what I mean? That's what these chants are kind of
Mm.
asking us to do. They're like, hey everyone, if you just like have this one moment while you're singing this, if you wake up and realize you're an infinite being and that and the your purpose is love, and we're here to create happiness and peace for all beings. And it's just like it was a really magical moment because I was singing it, all of a sudden I kind of got it, like, all right, like in this moment I'm just like lit a little spark in my brain because I'm aware that that is what I'm singing for, and I'm going to put all my intention into it just for like this five
Mm.
minutes and I'm sitting in a room full of maybe 25 other people who are all it's a cool room because everyone's really into it, like they're really singing, their eyes are closed. And I'm like, maybe we're all just creating a little node of just for this weird moment, hippie moment in this restaurant, uh that we're just creating this vibration, like of awakening. Like we don't buy into the reality of what we're being sold, and it's like we can awaken to our infinite potential. It's very beautiful. And I am like, and these are, I don't know, it got me really fascinated to think that this is like, these are whole religions based on that, just trying to wake you up. Like just trying to like, inspire you to
Yes.
take that moment and be like, hey, this isn't all there is. Hey, we're more than, we can drop out of this. This is the illusion, right? Like we can step out of the illusion. And I don't know. I think that's those nodes. That's those moments where you just have these little, like it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but you shake things up. And I know that there's another way, like they have changing timelines or jumping timelines. Like when
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
have these moments where all of a sudden your deep seated beliefs, which all are just thoughts that you've practiced over and over and over again since childhood, they can change or break or shift for whatever reasons. And usually it's because of something hard that happens, like some growth moment,
Yeah.
causes you to like really check in on that core belief. Like, whoa, I guess that's not true. What I've believed is all, because, I just experienced something super hard and I was supposed to be protected from if I believe this thing. And, obviously that's not true. So you get shooken up, your core beliefs get challenged. And then if you can keep going with love, right, you can move through it and be like, oh, now I have a new belief, and therefore I'm on a new timeline. Like I can make new choices. I can, new people become
Well,
available, new conversations become available. I want new skills, and and that also isn't linear. Like I was gonna say, like you're not on a new timeline, and all of a sudden you're climbing a different staircase. Your spiral has shifted a little bit. You know what I mean? And maybe now you're spiraling bigger or brighter or in a different level. Think about everything's multidimensional. It's not like a flat spiral. It's like a 3D spiral. I'm
yeah.
not trying to get too cosmic here. I'm just saying that
I was getting some Star Trek vibes.
Yeah, thanks. uh, I'm trying to visualize these moments on the spiral, but I think it's cool. Like we can think about these nodes or thresholds, and in between the known and the unknown is that liminal space, right? Like I think I talked about that last time. But liminality is something I've been really focused on because I've been really in it. I'm in a liminal space in my life, and they're really powerful. Like they're really magical. These in between, like you've taken your foot off the threshold and you haven't stepped into the next whatever path. It's like the in between. And Hecate was the
Uh,
Greek goddess of thresholds. This is like that was her thing. Like they had a whole deity in Greek mythology that was about the liminal
those
threshold.
pivots, those pivot places.
Yeah, like these portals, these where anything is possible. And I think that's the gift I'm trying to talk about. In this chaos that we're in, we are in a huge threshold for humanity on the planet. I also think as a culture for the United States, it's a threshold moment. And we're in this in between and nobody knows what's going on. It's very stressful in a lot of ways because you're like, we're not in the past, but we're also not seeing where the future's going. Like it's just kind of like
Yes.
this, it's just an unknown space.
Yes.
And could there be rituals for that? Could there be rituals to honor the chaos, honor honor like the crossroads,
Well, and think about like when back to that idea that power is a negative or like versus it is the energetics of everything, right? Like there's like the different
Mhm.
perspectives on things. And so like chaos is another one because it's like back to like like within the chrysalis, the caterpillar becomes the butterfly and it has
Yeah.
to go through that being like goo, right? Or like is it
Mhm.
Saradwin who has the cauldron that's the
Yeah.
universe,
Yep.
So it's like
Hmm.
stirring everything up and then like creating this um new new thing out of nothing is like kind of
Yeah, I
creates
think
this whole new thing.
there's like I think a Native American or maybe Mexican one about the woman who the weaving, just to tie your weaving back in.
Nice.
This weaving old grandmother that weaves the thread of life through it, and and then she's got this pot on the stove, and every once in a while she has to get up and stir the pot, and there's this like wolf that hangs out with her, and he rips up her tapestry when she gets up, and she has to come back and be like, oh, like and start all over again, like pick up all the threads,
Oh,
but the weaving will never look the same after the wolf tears it up. But the wolf needs to be there. It's like this whole it's a myth, but it's like this beautiful, you know, kind of I don't know, just a beautiful like way of expressing how it really works. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's this
yeah.
beautiful thing. Like, there is this incredible cooperation in nature, right? Like we have this incredible design. Like life is just unfolding in this amazing, beautiful, well beyond our comprehension way to understand. And then the wolf will get in and be like, "Rah!" And then he's part of it. Like he's part of the design. Like there needs to be chaos. There needs to be the entity, and it's all mythologies have that. The trickster, the
Yes,
coyote,
yes, yes, yes,
the
yes.
destroyer, Kali. I mean, the destroyers are always in there because it's necessary. Like it's just necessary to like we can't. It's that's not the way nature works. I mean, the volcano goes off, things get destroyed, the fire
With
comes, burns down the village. I mean, like that's just the way it is. I mean, it's a constant.
without all of the like without the little roly-polies and slugs and
Yeah,
like all the microbes breaking stuff down and turning
yeah,
it
the
back
vultures
into
I'm
the
watching like circle here,
yes,
like they're
yes,
playing such
yes.
a. We were laughing because this is really beautiful like yoga spot up here on the hill, and it's called Eagle's Nest. And then somebody was like, "Well, I've never seen eagles here." I'm like, "Yeah, I always see is vultures," and they were like, "Well, the vulture's nest doesn't really have the same ring to it." People would come do yoga in the vulture's nest. I'm like, well, maybe I would, but like, it sounds more punk
Oh,
rock.
I love vultures. We
But I
got
was just
that
thinking, like, that's the reality is like, the eagle is like, oh, so beautiful. But the vulture is like, that's who's hanging out. That's who's here.
yeah.
And very beautiful birds, but doing an essential role. But we don't like to think about what they do. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a whole, like, you
We
know?
get to see it. I think we probably talked about this, but last summer, we go do the loop walk in our neighborhood and there's often a lot of, because there's just vultures because they live here too. And there there was a young one, like a recently fledged vulture, and it
Mm,
was just like sitting on this little tiny tree and we're like, wait a minute, what is that? And we were able to get kind of close and it was like so clearly a baby. And it was just like,
Oh.
I don't know. I'm just like, I'm just, it was just like, oh, little guy, look at you.
Uh,
It was like kind of just like, kind of still baby. And just like, I was like, are
yeah.
they going to come back and give you a little snack? Or are you on your own now? Like,
They'd be on their own, yeah.
and like the baby
Yeah.
crows in our yard, our yard is a favorite spot for the crows to stash the babies. And
Oh.
it's really funny because like they're the adolescents, and when the parents are there, they're like doing all the like, oh, we're so pathetic, oh my God, and then when the parents are gone, they're like following us around the yard and like totally being, practicing falling off the branches and getting back up, and
Right.
they're like totally being like little, little punks, and then like the parents get back, they're like, oh.
How we all are.
It's totally how we all are. It's totally.
Need help.
And it's like we still need that. Like what is, like how can we help each other? Because like that spiral thing, it's like here it comes around to that 3 years ago place. Here it comes around to my inner 5-year-old, my dented pot, like
Totally.
how do we how do we like help our little baby bird, like
Yeah,
my
exactly.
like my friend Hannah, we were we this is some we were having this conversation and just realizing it's like just give me the worm. I just need somebody to give me the worm, like it's like
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's like I know I could get my own worm in the compost, but will you just give me one right now?
Oh man, I've been in that lesson. Like, no, no one's coming. You had to get up and get your own worm, girl. Like that's. And if someone does it for you, be like, "Thank you, it's amazing." But like, in general,
I just want the
uh,
worm.
you
Sometimes you
know,
got to get yourself, and sometimes it's like we can give it to each other, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you can give to each other. And that's the thing. None of us, we don't live apart. We all live, and we do live in connection with everything else. It's a story in our head. If you think you're by yourself, you're not. You never are. There's always
it,
so many entities around you, like visible and visible, that are
that Joanne Rand
supporting you.
song?
Mm.
Never alone, we are not alone. Does that sound familiar?
No, but I love when you
Oh.
sing.
Oh, it's such a good song.
Yeah, you've got a beautiful voice. Um, yeah, so where are we going with all this? Okay, nurture pod. Let's see. Me and I are just gonna wrap this up for you. What are your takeaways? What's your nurture takeaway from this rambling, spiraling conversation that we just had?
I think the takeaway is that it all, I think the takeaway is I think it's the that when you realize, I think for myself, like I just realized I got knocked off kilter. And it's like the takeaway is what nurturing do I need to bring myself back to my own practice?
Mm,
Because from that perspective of being in coherence, everything is completely different. The like, and that's so it's like you come back around, it's like you get a chance to see it from a, it's like if you're doing the switchback up to Saddle Mountain or something, it's like,
yeah.
new perspective. It's like, and so it's like, okay, this is, an obvious, yeah, like if in the midst of difficult, it is an opportunity to like take a breath, look out at
Mm,
like how far you've come up the hill, you know,
mm-hmm.
or realize I'm back down in the valley and I gotta go back up, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like the first step is acknowledging what is. And from there, you can make different choices. You can ask for help or you can, get a worm for yourself. And if you really can't get a worm, you got to ask somebody to get you a worm.
That's right.
That's,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
where
that's
I'm at now. Like, it's like, and my body has so much wisdom to offer me. Like,
mm,
it's like, you can't ignore it. Like, if your body is saying, hey, 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 Then it's
you know.
like that's the call to regroup, call to I don't know.
Mm.
How would you sum it up?
Well, it's interesting because from that perspective, if you get knocked off kilter and then it makes you have a check in with yourself, with your body, with how you are going to nurture yourself back. It's almost as if, and I know this is always tricky to say, that these people are your teachers, right? They show up to knock us around a little bit. So we're like, oh, yeah, remember how we regulate? Remember that this is not the frequency I want. Remember, this is how I do this. Remember, because I think that's part of it. I mean, that we mentioned trickster, we called that in. This is how the
Yeah.
universe is like working with us, I think, whether we acknowledge it or not. If we acknowledge it, I think it becomes kind of like a friend. It's like, oh, there you are. Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got a little spiral. I went on Instagram and scrolled, and I did something that maybe wasn't gonna be so, but then it was like, oh yeah, right. And then it made me kind of go through this like, oh, I have so much compassion for who I was 3 years ago, and like, man, it sent me in a different direction. It woke me up again. I was just a little more conscious of my path, a little more conscious of probably the unconscious things that are moving around in me. Because when I woke up, I was like, oh, I feel great today. It's Sunday. I'm gonna, walk around in my underwear and just, and then I was mad at myself because I started to do that, and I kind of I bummed myself out. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like that was so dumb. And I was like, I haven't done it in years. I was doing really good. I was holding a really good boundary with that reality of like, I'm not gonna. I was blocked. He was blocked on Instagram. I'm not gonna look because of just my own emotional state, not anything he was doing actively. Um, and yet here I went. I did it. I unleashed a boundary, and I stepped over that line, and I got all bummed out just because of past sad memories. But then very quickly it was like, all right, this is an anniversary. And all right, we're in like the deepest part of Scorpio territory right now. And all right, like that makes sense that this isn't a mistake. Like this was actually like a call to go back in there and spend some time with it. It is because whether I realize it or not, my body is holding a grief that would
Yes.
like my attention. And as much as
Yes,
I would
yes.
like to walk around in my underwear and drink orange juice and hang out in my hammock and pretend everything's great, there was a grief in there that needed to be acknowledged. And to trigger that grief, it got me to go do. I mean, it was weird. It was like it was like almost an automatic like what am I doing type of thing. But that's what I mean by somehow the universe is working in our favor if we can have the
Oh,
presence
yeah.
to
Yes,
remember
yes.
the spiral, remember our frequency, remember all of this and be like, we're playing, you know what I mean? We're souls playing with our own learning. And I believe that there are future selves of ours who've already gone through these thresholds and are standing on the other side who may be like trying to
You
help
could
us
do
out.
it. You
You
could
can
do
do it,
it.
but also trying to help us out. Like maybe, this is time for you to go do like visit that or like so I don't know, just kind of like my takeaway is there are no mistakes. Like maybe things are all just unfolding.
Oh, oh, you got all quiet. Heck. All right. 1 minute. Yeah, I think that you're right that there's no like if not necessarily that there's no mistakes, but that we can think of occurrences are like the thoughts that you realize are just kind of on a on are like flowing through our heads, like
Right.
the discipline of realizing it's like, that's just a thought, and it's like, that's just an event that happened. That was just
Yeah.
the weather. Like
The
like
weather.
that's just the weather.
Hmm. And so I guess to leave everyone is just that we are in a threshold part of the year. It's a very liminal time. I think it's wise that the ancients used to start their New Year's in these liminal spaces. Like they claim, the Celts used to be like New Year's is Samhain, knowing that there was going to be this big liminal space before light returned. Like this is part of it. You can't start the new thing without traversing the liminal unknown
Yes, yes.
threshold space. That is why they had whole goddesses and temples to this stuff. It was like it was a really honored, acknowledged space. So if we're gonna bring back any celebration that we kept talking about, we need more celebrate. Let's celebrate the liminal, celebrate the unknown, the parts that where it's messy, where we're not sure, where working on stuff where we don't know exactly where we're headed because that's what we're in. Like honestly,
Yes.
and the more we don't understand and don't work with this space, I think the longer we hang out here. uh,
Ah.
so I think that once we start to honor and pray to these spaces as sacred, then we get to be like, okay, like you're understanding the lesson. Well, then let's move you forward. But I really think that maybe we'll spin in these, this kind of chaos will reign until we understand that the sacredness of what it's trying to teach us or show us.
Here we go. Yeah, I'm working on stuff from 13 years ago. God
I mean,
damn it.
yeah, we all are. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. See, like, you hear the stigma that just kind of came through? It's like, oh, I'm still doing this. Yeah, you are, because that's part of it. Again, spiraling, not staircasing, no ladder. Oh, I love that there was like something in my coaching program about like, you're climbing a ladder, but you never check to see what wall the ladder is leaning on, like to see where you're
Oh.
actually climbing. I was like, oh, that's a good one. That's kind of what I was doing.
All right,
I,
babe. So,
yeah.
yeah, I've got I've got this just like uh we might not get a check-in for like 10 days because my next 10 days are pretty
Oh,
crazy.
okay.
So, but then I'm in a more spaciousness like I'm
Beautiful.
until January. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we'll have to check in before your birthday.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I'm in this little beautiful apartment in Guatemala for until December 1st. And then I'm going to head out to Antigua. And I've decided for those, I don't think I said this last time. I'm going to climb a volcano for my 52nd birthday. Astanago, maybe. It's a erupting, well, it's next to an actively erupting. Fuego is the erupting volcano. So you get to go and you climb it. It takes like all day to climb, and you spend the night up there. And then
Wow.
we wake up to the lava just like crazy. And it's been going really strong. I mean, it's like blasting off right now. So I'm hoping that holds and I can go. And I don't know, it just sounds amazing. But it's a really hard hike. So I'm practicing by climbing this ridiculous hill to my apartment twice a day. And when I say ridiculous, I mean like it's crazy.
It's
It's like
steep.
it is super steep and like, but it's good. And my butt and thighs
Talking
hurt.
about stairs,
Yeah.
you're literally climbing and climbing and climbing.
Actually, maybe that's why I was using the stair analogy so much. I've been climbing a lot of stairs this week.
All
Okay. I love you so
right.
much. We will talk when we talk, and there will be another ring on the spiral to discover.
Nice. Good luck.
Thanks, you too.
I need it. Thank you.